I think about Jesus and what that cross was for him, and my cross is so little. It was like she would reflect on that. So it was always where am I at today? It's nothing like what Jesus endured. So how can I complain?
This is Truth Pop with Jake and Kathy, a Catholic take on faith and culture.
This is Truth Pop. We are here at Seek 24 in St. Louis. I'm Jake, and Kathy is here, and we have the pleasure of speaking to Mary Ann and Ken Duppong. They are the parents of now servant of God, Michelle Duppong, who was actually a Focus missionary, and she passed away several years ago, but is now has her cause opened to canonization. So we're going to have the chance to just learn a little bit more about Michelle's life and also some of the miracles that have been attributed to her and her cause.
So, for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't heard about Michelle before, can you share a little bit about her life and her story?
Michelle was very simple. We're very simple. We're farmers from western North Dakota. Well, she actually was born in Denver. We were living there at the time. She was the fourth child born. And we moved to the farm in North Dakota in 1985 when she was 1. And so she only basically remembered the farm, and she loved Haymarsh, the little farming community, Catholic community we were from. Michelle was an easy child. We didn't think as being extraordinary. Well, but though you always think your children are something special, right? But she had an ordinary childhood and helped with the chores. We all have to pitch in when you're on a farm. And she went to grade school in a public school. That's what we had available in Glenola, North Dakota. And so after her graduation, with the love of farming and agriculture, she wanted to become a horticulture major. So she attended North Dakota State University in Fargo. And there, her faith just blossomed. We're so grateful for that campus and the Newman Center. Father Cheney's first year at NDSU brought in the Focus missionaries. That was the first year. And Michelle took everything, hook, line, and sinker. She went to daily mass. She did her holy hours. She was involved in Bible studies and became so excited and passionate about what she experienced and wanted to share it with others. Well, from there, after graduation, it was so impactful for her that she decided she wanted to become a Focus missionary. And interesting enough, when she applied, they didn't give her an answer right away. And so she asked if she could come back and work at our farm, which we were grateful for. At that time, we had a fruit project going on and we needed extra hands. So Michelle came home, and it was very late in May or early part of June that year when she gets the call from Focus that they decided they would find a team for her to be on down in Nebraska, in Lincoln. And she was so excited. We have this picture of her leaving the yard in her car, waving the papal flag. She was so excited to go serve for the church. And she had 1 year on that campus. Then she did 2 years at South Dakota State University and 2 years at the University of South Dakota, and then 1 year in Bismarck at the University of Mary. So 6 years as a Focus missionary. And she talked about these Seek events, so excited about taking her disciples there and having that great experience. It was so awesome. From there, we had a new bishop come to our diocese, Bishop David Kagan from Peoria, Illinois. And he met the Focus missionaries at University of Mary, which that gave him opportunity to meet Michelle. When she discerned that she should look at another vocation, she wrote a letter to the bishop and asked, how could I serve? I would be honored if I could serve you in any capacity. He called her in the next day and said, I have a position. I want you to be head of the Bismarck Diocese, Director of Adult Faith Formation. So with that, she started out working with all the parishes and the DREs giving them information. To start with, how do you transform your heart? It's not a job. This is a relationship. This is how do you get to know Jesus better. And little did we know at that time, she did actually make podcasts that she did monthly and would send them out to all the parishes so that they could learn what she had learned. We never knew that until after she passed away, and we heard the talks ourselves. We're going, oh my goodness, we'd never heard Michelle give a presentation. It was passionate. That's all I can say. And they're still available on the Bismarck Diocesan website under Faith Formation. So she worked there, and one of her main events was the Thirst Conference down in Bismarck. She wanted to have this kind of an experience for everyone. She brought in, through the bishop's approval, Scott Hahn, Cardinal Dolan was there, and a lot of her spiritual directors, Edward Surrey, and it was like, we never had this opportunity, and it was so exciting for the diocese. And it was extraordinary because we were exposed then for the first time to that kind of a quality and the capacity of experiencing the numbers. I think there were maybe 9,000 people that came to Bismarck for that event. So that was a very blessing advance. She worked at the diocese for, I think it was around 2 years, when she was starting to suffer a lot of abdominal pain. Went to the doctors. They just kind of thought it was maybe a flu. They didn't do lab work. They just kind of said, oh, there's a bug going around. Well, by the time that Thanksgiving came in 2014 and she was at home, we noticed when she went to Mass, she sat down. And it was so unlikely for her to do that during the gospel. I had asked her, what's wrong? And she said, I have this pain. I don't know. You better, you should get that checked out. She said, yes, I will. She did have a scan, and it showed that she had ovarian cysts. And they said, but that's not a big deal. That just goes away. And 6 weeks or so, just take painkillers, and they might just dissolve, and everything will be fine. But it did not get better. She was in severe pain, and developed ulcers from the painkillers. And so by the time Christmas came, she was unable to eat and very miserable. So they scheduled the procedure for her. I think it was December 28th. And it was supposed to be outpatient, quick deal. And they came out after a long wait to tell my daughter Renee and I that no, she has something very serious going on here. There's tumors from the front to the back, side to side. Her whole abdomen's full, and decided they didn't really know how to approach it other than put her on hospice care. And we had asked for a second opinion. And with the goodness of Father Cheney, he offered to fly her to Mayo Clinic, and we were able to get in there right on New Year's Eve. And there they assessed the situation, and they too said, this is extreme. We can do something experimental with chemo and radiation, but we might send you on to Johns Hopkins for experimental therapy, but first try this. It was a difficult journey, a very difficult journey. Michelle never complained, and she never appeared shocked that she should receive such an unexpected diagnosis, and she just accepted it in just tremendously calm, and whatever God wants, I know I can trust in Him.
One time when she came out of the one of her tests, she told us that Jesus told her that He wants her in the garden with Him. We knew what garden that was, and it went from there. Later on in her hospitalization, she was put on an intubator. That was right toward the end, and she couldn't breathe, and the doctor told us that there would only be like a 1% chance that she could come off of that intubator. And over a period of probably 3 or 4 days, he would come in and check right away in the morning. He'd look and see what her x-rays shows, and he couldn't believe it. She was getting better. Her lungs were improving, and after about the 4th day, he thought they could try taking her off of the intubator. She told the deacon there, it was a real close friend that we developed over the year, and he told the deacon that she saw herself hanging on the cross with Jesus, and she says it hurt so much. It was just like over the years she went through the sorrowful mysteries, from the agony in the garden to the crucifixion, and it was hard to watch.
She passed away Christmas Day 2015. So what was that experience like?
After those over 11 months of being in the hospital, mostly in Chicago, traveling back and forth, majority of the time was spent in hospitals and hotel rooms by the hospital, waiting for treatments. We could see her declining, and yet she just didn't give up. Twice they came when she was moved home, transferred home at the beginning of December. She had people from hospice come out from Bismarck and say, don't you think maybe you're ready to do that? Though she was totally incompetent, they knew this. She said, no, I think I still want to go on. And they said, but, oh, Michelle, the more you have to be poked and prodded and all these fevers and this. And her comment was, I think Jesus wants me here, which kind of was a bit, we ponder that now, but later on it made sense, because there was one religious sister that came out to help one night around December 8th to give us a little reprieve that we could try to sleep in our bed for a little while, a few hours. Our daughter Renee, that did most of the nursing care, particularly needed some rest. And after Michelle passed away, they asked us to come and visit with this religious sister from India. And she told us that night when she cared for Michelle told her she was going to die on Christmas Day. And she thought, but we don't know, Michelle, we don't know. She said, no, I'm going to die on Christmas Day. So there was this longing to hang in there, I think, because as a child, she had heard the stories. I had to create a prayer book, a little prayer book from Tan Publishing. And Michelle was one of these beautiful children that loved to hear the stories. And if any devotion she'd hear about, she would do it. The first Saturdays, the first Fridays, the 9-day novenas for Divine Mercy, and praying at the poor souls in the cemetery. She did all these things because if Jesus or Mary came and gave us this message, we should pay attention to it. So she took it to heart. And in that little book, it told her that, I remember reading these to our children, that Jesus takes the most souls to heaven on Christmas Day. And though she was praying for a healing, which our Lord had told her that he would heal her in this life, we were thinking a physical healing. And for her, a healing would be, I can go to heaven, right? I can go, because she would make comments to Kenny, my husband here. He'd say, boy, I hope I make it to purgatory. And she goes, no, Dad, you don't want to go there. You want to go straight up. So the beautiful thing in all her years, I know for sure, college on, she always wore her scapular, did the devotions, and Mary's promise, the Sabbatine privilege for wearing the scapular and following those devotions, was that I will come for you on the first Saturday after your passing and take you personally to heaven. She died on Friday, December 25th at 11:23 at night, and we're confident that Our Lady's promise came through for her, because one of our oldest daughters, all our family, we were gathered around her bedside day and night over the holiday. It was such a blessing. We could all be there, praying, singing, personal one-on-one time. And our oldest daughter went in to pray with her and said, "Okay, Michelle, we know where you're going. We just want a sign when you get there." And that morning, after they came to take her body, we were saying another family rosary together in our living room when our daughter Lisa just started crying joyfully. And Ken asked her, "What's wrong?" And I just heard Michelle's voice. And she told me, "You won't believe, Lise, you won't believe how beautiful." And so it was such an affirmation for Lisa. She's not a hysterical, imaginative person. It definitely, and we've experienced something of hearing her ourselves that we're confident, But the stories started coming in right after her passing in letters. I must have received over 500 cards in the mail that first month, all over the country, some internationally. It was so shocking. How did she know so many people? And how would they get her address? And how would they hear about this? Well, in the letters, the stories, they were so profound, impactful. How she had the conversions, the reversions, the just walking in their journeys and them desiring to know Jesus the way she did. I was like, oh my goodness, it's not your typical, "I'm sorry for your loss, we're praying for you." It was impactful, beautiful stories. So we set aside about 200 of these kind of things from that first month, but they continued to come. Emails, text messages, phone calls, letters, saying they heard about her passing and how people were praying for us and praying to Michelle. And then the stories started coming of people hearing her, seeing her in dreams, in surgeries. People came to our farm. We were hosting retreats for college students, especially the Focus missionaries. They would have their training at University of Mary, and they would bring out groups to our farm to see where Michelle was buried and see her room. Students would say when they would pray in her room, they would receive the message, affirmation that trust in the Lord. He will provide everything that you need. And the thing about it, Michelle was like a simple farm girl. She was bright. She went to college. She traveled through Focus. She had these beautiful experiences, but she never had one class in faith formation, not a one in theology. Some of these missionaries that prayed in her room that would have doubts or anxiety about saying yes to our Lord, Michelle did not have a lot of support, whether it was in our home parish and area. But she trusted the Lord would provide, and He did in a tremendously big way. One of the things we knew, Michelle appreciated everything. She never took anyone's generosity for granted. She wrote and made phone calls to all those benefactors and stayed in touch with them, not only through a letter, but personal calls. "I care about you. What can I pray for you?" And we just heard beautiful stories from those people too. Some of them were non-Catholics that supported her in the Focus ministry. It was just amazing to see that they saw the goodness of this Christian woman and they wanted to support her.
One thing in the documentary, it may be a while before it's released to the public. They're going to show it in like 4 different states. But in the documentary, the bishop, he made the announcement that in opening her cause, and then he did say that there was a woman that came to him and she had cancer, and it was not good. I mean, it was fairly far along, and that she prayed to Michelle for her intercession for her help, either to help for a cure or to be able to accept what was coming. Anyhow, she went to the doctor and he did an MRI and he said something is wrong here. It's not, something isn't right. Anyhow, he did another MRI and then he said to the patient that there is no cancer here. It's gone. Compared to the first cancer images, and they were continuing to grow after they gave her the treatments. The cancer was continuing to grow, but then after she prayed to Michelle, she came back and the MRI showed nothing. It was gone. So I think that kind of helped the bishop as far as making a decision that there is something really amazing here, but there's been more miraculous things that have happened when people have been praying to her.
So with these miracles that are being investigated, then what's exactly the path then to sainthood? Right now she's a servant of God, so what's next?
Where they're gathering all her writings and communications, and then any of the stories that people want to share, comments, good or bad, about what they've known or if they personally knew her, to be shared with Bishop Kagan and the cause team. And they will, once they decide they have enough evidence or whatever it is, the determining point, I'm not sure where along the journey, but they will submit that all to the Vatican, and there it'll be discussed and studied again. And if they feel that she should be considered in the capacity of being a venerable, then they'll declare that. And then it'll be open to waiting for a miracle, a very profound, obvious miracle that they can use to discern that she should be given the title blessed. And then after that, another miracle to become saint. And so it's a long process and detailed and involved. Right now they're just gathering the information, and we just encourage people that have heard about her or want a prayer card. They can go to the Bismarck Diocese. It's the Duppong cause.com I believe they're opening up a website shortly with that, but on the prayer card it does give an address where you can go and share any stories that you might have or encounters. But one of the things too, besides cancer, being a cancer intercessor, it's been profound, the stories we're hearing about healings for young couples with fertility problems. That has been amazing. Just beautiful stories of young couples that were told that they would never be able to have a child or conceive, and they have prayed to her, or novena to her, and it's so exciting for us to see those pictures of the babies that were delivered, the healthy, perfectly fine babies. It's such a gift. So I think at some point she will be well known for that intercession as well. And I encourage young couples to turn toward her for help. She lost her fertility from the extreme surgical procedure she had, and so she would be very compassionate to those young couples.
Jessica told us that right before her surgery, Michelle asked Jessica to pray with her, and she said, I really want to have a big family and I don't want to have this surgery. Like, can you pray with me? And they prayed together. And even though she wasn't able to be a biological mother, she now has a lot of children. So God always answers prayers.
I think it's just so beautiful hearing these stories about Michelle, how she never let her suffering turn into self-pity. I think it's so easy, myself included, to ask, like, why God? Like, why are you allowing this cross? But I'm just personally so inspired by the way Michelle embraced redemptive suffering. And even I remember seeing in the documentary the moment she was told that she didn't have much time, she responded by asking somebody else how he was doing.
The journey, it was so obvious as we progressed every day. There was always a great trial, another unexpected thing, something else went wrong. But every day there was some grace of God putting a special person, a special friend, a caring person that reached out and helped us in our journey. And I was like, how did that happen? What are the odds that we would meet someone here way away from home and knew this contact, or the priest that came and brought her communion, and so many graces that came, and those are very treasured memories. But I have to tell you, after we got back home and she did enter the hospital the last time, a physician came in and had a discussion with her and said, Michelle, don't you think you want to be at home? There's nothing more we can do. Don't you want to die at home? And so she took that advice, and the doctor came out to talk to me and shared with me. I just told her she needs to go home. And then she turned to me, though, and she said, Marianne, tell me what you think. Your daughter was given 2 months to live, and she's lived 12 months. But would you put her through that again? Was it worth it to see all that she had to endure? And my response was, you have no idea the lives she touched, the people on the journey with her. And Michelle wanted to serve those people and give them hope and courage. She knew she wasn't the only one going through that. Every place she was, there was full of cancer patients. I'm not the only one. And she didn't want the intention to be on her. She wanted to give hope to everyone she met. And it could have been the cleaning lady, the taxi driver, stewardess, anyone she encountered. She sincerely could look them in the eye and say, you matter. I care about you, your day. How are you doing, So she touched a lot of lives in that journey. I know her Caringbridge site, I think it was 223,000 hits during that year. People following her on that journey. And if she would have said, I give up, I'm done, well, I don't want to go through that, give me a shot, a pill or whatever, and get this over. Look at the impact she's made and continues to impact. So that's why it's a great blessing for us to be able to share her story, because we want to give people hope as well when they're on these journeys. One of the things Michelle did tell me when she was at Mayo, we were waiting for the rest of the family to arrive, she thought, she was prayerful, and she was always contemplated things before she talked. Even when doctors would come and say, what would you rate your pain today? And she would maybe say, 2. And I would look at her like, oh my goodness, you are... And she would go, but I think about Jesus and what that cross was for him, and my cross is so little. It was like she would reflect on that. So it was always where am I at today? It's nothing like what Jesus endured, so how can I complain? But it was remarkable. But just those encounters with the people, I want them to know there's hope, and those crosses serve a purpose. Redemptive suffering is a beautiful thing if you can offer it. It can be challenging to want to do that, but the fruits of that are unimaginable. I guess that's why we're here. She was so good at taking that and saying, Jesus, I will do this for this one soul. I will do this for this person. We heard later there was a particular soul she was offering all her suffering, and she said, if I could take this and hand it to Jesus when I meet him and say, for this one soul, it's all worth it.
a beautiful reminder of how we're all called to live out sainthood, and that our ordinary lives can become sanctified just by simply offering up every moment of our day, no matter what we do, who we are, what our vocation is. And I think Michelle is just a beautiful example of that call to sainthood that we all need to chase after.
Just one thing, one of the priests said, it's in the documentary, that Michelle would say that, I just introduce you to Jesus and he does the rest. And that's what her main goal was, to bring souls to Jesus.
Beautiful. Oh, thank you so much, Ken, Marianne, for your time and for sharing Michelle's witness. It's just honestly an inspiration to both of us and to so many people. And we are going to be praying for continued conversion of souls through Michelle's intercession, and also praying for both of you too in your journey as well. So thank you so much for everything.
Well, Michelle would say, praise be Jesus Christ, all for his glory. She wrote a letter to Jesus that we found later, and in the letter she stated that she wanted to become a great saint, all for the greater and glory of God, of course. So she's still working, and we want people to know it's not about her. We're ordinary people, and we're striving on that journey.
Yeah, I remember hearing in the documentary, she said, God is giving you the grace right now to become a saint. And I was just very inspired by that. And I'm so inspired by her witness. And I'm really just so honored and blessed to turn to her for intercession.
Everyone can make it to heaven. In this game, everybody can win. And the only people in heaven are saints. So, so thank you.
This is Truth Pop.